to the regular meeting of the Preston City Council for Monday, June 9th, 2025. I'll call the meeting to order, and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call, Cheryl?
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Adam Ryder?
Yes. Number 4, approval of the agenda. Are there any questions or comments on that? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
And second?
Second.
And roll call?
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Adam Ryder?
Yes. Number 5, citizen and public comment. I think Jesse, you're on later, so I think we can skip that one. Number 6, the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on that?
Only thing I saw in there was the Dollar General for alcohol license. Any issues, Chad?
No issues. I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any roll call?
Dylan Meyer?
Yes.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Adam Ryder?
Yes.
Lisa Buddy?
Yes.
All right, number 7, we got stormwater discussion on West Street. We've got Mark Rudin here from Origin Design.
Yeah, so now that we've kind of been talking about this project for about 5 years now, this is the project that was to deal with stormwater in the area of West Street and draining from the south and that part of, I don't know, do you have all of the exhibits up there, Cheryl, by chance, where we can look at maybe exhibit 3? I don't know if that one be the one that has, one that had all the maps of the profiles on them. Yeah, so if you go back, I think there's 6 pages there. If you go back in that one, a couple pages, it'd be either page 3 or 4 of that exhibit. Okay. So maybe, yeah, scroll up a little. So you can see the outline area. We'll go all the way to the south first. Sorry.
Up?
Yeah, move the view up so we can see the south. Keep going. Okay, you can see the drainage areas to the south are kind of that DeGroat Street drainage area. We got Field East, Field West, Sub 6, and then scroll up north here a bit. Northeast and northwest is what we refer to the drainage areas that contribute to that general area that this storm sewer that we're talking about would deal with the stormwater that's produced by those. And one of the critical factors that kind of brought this out is the senior center starting to develop on what's called the Field West now, in addition to some future plans of the city for the subdividing on the south side of it. So we're just adding more impervious surface to the area, which increases the runoff in those areas. So let's go to exhibit 2. There was 2 exhibits we put together that were option 1 and option 2 for how to deal with stormwater coming off of these areas. So can you go out of this into one of the first 2 pages of the 6 pages?
Trying.
Yeah, I don't know how you pulled it up where you're able to see kind of, yeah. Maybe scroll all the way up. I'm not sure how you just moved to this
I
page.
don't know,
but-
you get
oh, view summary maybe, up on top. So now, no, okay. Oh, let's see, how do we get you to those first couple pages? So if you scroll all the way up, does it just, on that gray bar right here? This gray bar, just grab it. Go to the top with that, there we go. So this is the option two. Option two was a little less costly than option one. So I'm gonna have you can kind of see the route here where you're on the east side of West Street, and then you cross right before the highway, go over, cut across the highway, and then down Industrial Lane, and eventually outfall into the creek. I'll go use that gray bar and go up to the next sheet. You gotta grab that gray right there, and then just pull that up. This other option kinda cut around and into the property and went up that little finger that's part of that 5-acre parcel that the city had there. This ended up being a little bit more expensive, so I think the route we were looking at was to do the option two.
Because that kind of just messes up that whole lot there too.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be on the edge of it, but it's, I mean, we're talking about pretty substantial sewer in that area, 60-inch or 66-inch. So it's really pretty substantial through there. One of the things that we talked about earlier was the potential for approaching the Iowa DOT about draining into that ditch and possibly upsizing any culvert we need to upsize, because that ditch on the south side of the highway goes all the way to Copper Creek there, and it's a massive ditch, you know? And if that thing has hydraulic capacity to take the water away from there, maybe we could get away with upsizing culverts or, you know, some other means than putting in 2020 figures, we're looking at, you know, nearly $1 million for the storm sewer project. The issue with going or examining the route heading along the highway and heading just straight out west and having it be conveyed through the ditches would be is you're not dealing with, or you're not putting in that storm sewer that you were kind of banking on for some of the improvements with the industrial lane project. Can you pull up that industrial lane PDF?
The one that you just sent?
Yeah. I think it's that last exhibit there, if you click on right there. So you can see we're going to be adding curb and gutter and inlets in the industrial lane streetway there. And that was just gonna tie into this actual storm sewer that's installed as part of this project. If we try to send all this water, you know, and we'd have to justify that with the DOT, that we could send it through that ditch that serves the highway there, you wouldn't be able to have that storm sewer network to tie into. Now, if you did have one that was dedicated to industrial lane, when you are ready to do that project, it could be smaller in size.
Two questions. How realistic is it that we could justify to the DOT that we could ditch dump it in your mind without digging too far into it, obviously, just?
Yeah, I'd have to dig into it a little bit, not really far, but I'd probably call Sheila Lee, our, you know, contact with the DOT there, and just talk with her about the idea and see what she thinks. Because we'd have to do some hydraulic analysis to prove that we weren't over.
So there'd be some cost to be able to justify and prove it.
Yep.
To the DOT, that would be an option for.
That's correct.
Well, let's just say we could do that. Would that make the whole project cheaper if you still did both? Because let's just say you're talking 60-inch culverts, because you're taking all the way back to the Grove.
Yeah.
You're taking everything south of the highway, and you have to keep it upsized as you jump the highway, because you're encompassing more. Wouldn't you be able to go to smaller culvert than on the other side? And
Over on Industrial Avenue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be much less, because you're really only dealing with those two drainage areas that were at the very top of the page.
Yeah.
You know, so you could downsize it.
substantially less culvert.
Yeah. I talked to and, regarding funding for this, I talked with Cheryl and we agreed I'd reach out to the USDA and kind of just, because that was one thing that we'd explored in the past, is there any grant money that would help the city out with putting in this stormwater collection system? And right now, there is no grant money. It'd still be a loan eligible type project, and they could do, I think right now the interest rate is 4.25% for like a 40-year loan, and there would be certain things the city needs, like you've already have a storm sewer or a stormwater fund that people pay a bill each month, right? They wanna make sure you have that established. That might have been the catalyst that had the city actually establish that fund.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago we did that, right?
Yeah, I think it was just like a year ago in March.
So it probably had to do with prepping you to maybe use USDA funding on this project. So regardless of what option you would take, you could potentially still utilize the USDA low interest long period loan to do the work if you needed to stretch it out that far. But I think maybe a good recommendation would be for me to examine a little bit the viability of sending that water along the ditch. I mean, I think it'd be money well spent, honestly, to take a look at that. It's such a high cost, nearly $1 million for a storm sewer network to carry all this down to Copper Creek. And if you could do anything to economize there and maybe be able to utilize that, it's just such a substantial ditch they have going down there. Does anybody know historically kind of what that ditch looks like during major storms?
I don't remember.
And I feel like it's a lot different now that because they took all those trees out, I feel like it has to drain better now, because they've done a lot of work basically from in that photograph all the way to the creek on both sides.
I can't picture it being a problem.
No, I
so,
I don't remember,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't ever remember seeing it level full ever,
No.
or even water in it really.
Right.
Backing
Like
up
it could
and
be
surface.
really low,
Yeah.
I like where Matt's going with that, thinking if we can dump into that for that half and lower the cost of the north half of that and
For
still
the-
be able to do that problem and have it be
And you
more
can
cost
incorporate
effective
that into
overall.
when you actually do the industrial lane project, whenever that becomes your top priority.
Because instead of
To me,
something.
it doesn't feel right to just go forward with this large diameter sewer without at least examining this
Right.
potential.
I agree, and you said it was what, almost $1 million in 2020, so what is it in 2025?
Right.
5?
Yeah, it keeps
Right.
going up.
It's not
If they could
cheaper.
add a couple 100,000 probably.
You're right,
Yeah.
you're right. So, I think, I guess I'm looking for your blessing to kind of look into this a little bit, to see what we can do to maybe work with the DOT on sharing that ditchway that heads all the way out to the creek.
I mean, I think the reward is worth you're talking on a $1 million to $1.5 million project, you're talking a fraction of you're
Right.
very small percentage of that where, okay, all of a sudden we can do it, it's like, okay, well, we're still at a really large cost with just a, slight added to it, kind of.
Yeah, if you do end up going with USDA funding for a project like this, because it still could be a substantial cost, because the culverts there that we would have to potentially upsize are pretty large across the any drives that are there and the roadways, so it's not completely inexpensive, but it wouldn't compare to what you're doing with the large diameter, long runs of sewer there, so.
Would you still be talking, as far as the culverts or some of the drives in your mind, just that they'd be standard galvanized or steel culverts, what are you gonna call it? Not have to be poured concrete culverts, or don't know that yet?
I wouldn't know it yet. I would, obviously we wanna go with the most economical that structurally supports whatever sort of load is gonna be on it, would be the idea.
I don't know what's under the highway right there by Everhart, on the county highway at 60.
I feel like that's a pretty big one.
It's big, I don't know if it's steel or concrete through there.
That'd be the biggest one, obviously, otherwise you're just talking pretty
And
much.
that's, I think it's pretty much open ditch once you get past
Yeah,
that.
there's open ditch all the way.
With even
You
no
just got those-
driveways.
There'd
you
be
just got
one,
those
there'd be
two
one
driveways
driveway
there.
between Everhart's and Copper Creek, Hemley's, right? That'd be the only one. And then there'd be on this side, there'd just be the,
Just a storage shed and rails,
yeah,
so pretty minor.
yeah.
go from there, and I'll report back to you if I feel like it's viable, and if we wanna put, some more effort into it after we explore that, then we can take the appropriate steps. Okay.
And I did ask Mark, when I talked to him before too, to look at, drive up by the Catholic Church again. You know that our problem has enhanced up there, you know, as far as washing out. So I think Mark went up there, so just to refresh his mind again, so, you know, maybe next time we meet, we can talk about this, where our cost is. And so really, I mean, if we split it up like this, maybe we're talking 3 projects, then West Street, Industrial Lane, and Catholic Church. You know, we can kind of figure monies out accordingly and stuff. But
Cheryl, did you wanna report on what you had heard about the Catholic Church ditch there?
Yeah, we had gotten. Let's see. We had one call from Johnson Construction, we received that because they wanted to clean out the ditch. I did call, him today, called Jesse to make him aware that our gas line is currently only 10 inches below the ditch.
Is that what
After
it is?
it's, yeah, because Tim went up and marked it, Eric was on vacation today, but, he marked it, and so I wanted to make Jesse aware that, hey, this gas line is getting close, and his intentions aren't to dig it out any further, but actually try and get it filled in more, using some of the sides and redoing the groundwork there, and with the goal to get the grass seeding done this year yet, to
Okay.
prevent to help, just, he knows that it's been a problem, because, you know, they did it late in the fall and didn't have time for anything to do, so he's aware of it, and, he's like, if that doesn't, you know, slow the flow down, he may have to add some rock, they may have to add some rock at some point, so he's aware of the situation and is trying to assess the problem currently, so.
Was that a city project or a shared project there?
That's how the church is doing that themselves right now, aren't they?
Yeah, the church is now, I don't know if initially if we
I think initially we helped with it a little
looked
bit.
like half and half.
Yeah, that's what I have in mind too, Cheryl. It was like a 50-50 to begin with, you
Got it.
know.
Yeah, because originally we talked about pouring concrete kind of in that ditch.
Yeah.
It's kind of
We had
a
some discussion
low
about it.
cost, you know, solution, but then we talked more and it's like, well, you know, maybe we should look at it, you know, what's the better approach, you know, as far as being able to put a sidewalk there and
Right.
so, but yeah, I think at this point, it definitely needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
Yeah, we did, we didn't want to talk about spending that money and then we could put it towards the storm sewer, you know. Cause I remember you looked into it, having to put like a drain in the parking lot because that would back up into there and tie that in and just, what's the best case? Because again, when you pull out of the, you know, west side, that street's so narrow and, you know, to be able to widen the road out, again, it's a big project, but the first step is put the storm sewer in and cover the ditch.
Yep.
So,
Okay. All right, well, sounds good. Did you need me to stick around for any other agenda items and all?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we'll
I'd
look
run while you
into-
could.
What's that?
I'd run while you could.
I'll report back to you when I know more on this then, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
You betcha, thank you.
All right, number 8, lot purchase update. We got Jesse Kilberg here.
You want us to speak, Jess, or you got?
I just had, and the only reason I asked to be on to, I stopped in the kids' program on Friday or whatever. Just after I left and, you know, been thinking about it, if we could just, and it don't have to be this meeting, next meeting or whatever, but, so I haven't hooked up, any, plumbing or water or sewer. I'm gonna hold, I don't wanna go down to that old one and then September, October, whenever we can get the lot, we can go over there. You know, the ultimate goal is to get to the newer utilities. If we could just maybe set a hard date at this meeting or next meeting or whatever of, like late September, early October, just cause I have to get the utilities underground before winter, otherwise I'm gonna, if, when it freezes, I'll run into a problem. So I'm just thinking, there's corn in there now, beans got it planted. If we could go, late September, early October, sometime around harvest to have either a yes or a no, that'll give me a month or so to, a little more, hopefully, if we don't have a early hard winter, to get a contractor in there to get everything dug in. So that was my only concern or question. Nice meeting you too. And like I said, I don't know if I know I seen it's listed with Miss Olson or whatever. I haven't heard anything from Christensen's, good, bad, or indifferent, if they've got anything. But yeah, that was my thing. Like I said, I don't need a decision now, but sometime here in July, August, if we can say, hey, yeah, thanks for moving forward, we'll have you an answer by this council meeting or whatever, just to buy me a little time to get the water and the storm or sanitary sewer underground before it freezes. That way I have a way to get, because I just have it stubbed outside under the ground. So if I would let water get in there now, melt off my car, it's going that pipe and it's solid, it's gonna freeze and crack or whatever.
So one thing we asked Tim to go up there and look at the old sewer, look at the new, and do his due diligence.
Yeah, me and Tim we've tried hooking up a couple times and I've been gone, he's been there or whatever, and we're still, working on trying to hook up or meet up.
We want him to come back with us with a report or whatever we want to say.
Yeah.
Here's the old sewer will work for this reason, the old sewer won't work for this
Yep.
reason,
Yep.
and tell us that,
Yep.
and
His
justify
opinion.
which, yes or no, why it will or why it won't. So I think Cheryl's working with Tim to do that. What's realistic? 30 days, he could tell us yes or no?
I did talk to Tim a little bit on it today, and he said that he knows that you had Marburger come and look.
Yep,
You had Marburger come and look at the fall for the 4-inch.
yep.
And kind of shoot the whatever.
Yeah, they had the transit set up and,
But Tim wasn't aware of the outcome of that,
yeah,
what Brandenburg or Marburger thought of it.
yeah.
So Tim is working
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And I'll try to catch up with Tim this week too. I know I was gone, the last 2 weeks have been a blur, but I'm around this week, so I got Tim's cell, cause I know, like I said, he reached out to me a couple times to meet up and I was busy or gone and vice versa. I reached out to him and he was on vacation here
So
over the
let's
last
just say
month.
maybe, and don't hold us to this, but maybe we could get Tim's report, for the July,
The
first
July.
July meeting.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss that, maybe the second July meeting, then we can say, hey, October 1, we can make some
Yeah.
decision, something like
Yeah.
that. That
Yeah.
realistic for you guys?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and that's why I just want to get it in now rather than wait till next month and then we push,
Yep.
every push it off another month, so. And I apologize for my attire and my cleanliness. Again, I thought I was gonna get home and be able to shower the day before
It's all
I
good.
come here. But yeah, that sounds great. Like I said, I'll hook up with Tim and, I think Tim's got Brandon's number too, or he knows how to get a hold of him or whatever. And we'll go
Because
from
he's
there.
also trying to connect with them to get the sewer over to the Ellis project, too, so.
So who's sewer and water, again, remember? Who's on the committee?
I think I'm still on that. I was at one time. I think I still on after the reshuffling.
It's
So
not me.
So maybe suggestion sewer and water committee, get with Tim and, have a meeting and
I could tell you before.
present to the
yeah,
council,
tonight.
what do you think the best routes are,
Yep,
Yo,
sounds good. Well, thank you guys for your time and
Thank you,
your
Jesse.
due
Thanks,
diligence.
Jesse.
And yeah, I'll hook up with Tim too if he's got any questions for me and we'll plan on seeing you in July.
Sounds good.
Good work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Jesse.
you.
okay, number 9, lot discussion, Harvest Heights.
Yeah, Matt and Tyler asked me to put this on the agenda, to get some ideas on how to even market, get the lot sales going up there, just to brainstorm on that. So, I'll just say that previously I've reached out to Kelly Brown with ECIA to see if she had any ideas. She did tell me that, with everything going on in Des Moines with TIF and everything, she'd stay away from tax rebates. And she's against the tax abatement, but offering something to get people interested, maybe like we do the downtown incentive, and we get reimbursed to TIF through that. So set up a program for incentives through, that we can get reimbursed through TIF once we see some revenue generated by that sale. We can't get it until we actually, you know, the money don't, until the money starts coming in. So that's an easier way, offer something like a $2,000 for closing cost, and then we get reimbursed, or come up with some kind of program similar to our downtown incentives. And I thought about marketing. I do know, I did find that those lots are all listed already on Realtor.com through Dana. And I looked into Zillow a little bit. I didn't have a lot of luck trying to do that. Or we can do some kind of forgivable loan as just some suggestions, you know, try to shoot for.
Yeah, just think, you know, what can we do, like Cheryl's saying too, help promote, because with everything just sitting there, we're making interest payments, you know, and we're not getting any revenue back on this, so, you know, what can we do to have some sort of incentive? What do we, use some TIF money towards it, or we, you know, give an incentive that if you purchase and build in a year, you can get so much money back at that point, because if we can get the tax revenue off and get the utilities off of it, you know, we can afford to have some enticing ways to get people to build and help get that money rolling in, and hopefully you get a few up there and more will come. So we just pick a, you know, whether it's a 90-day, 6-month, a year type promotion window, you know, that you can do something with and try to move forward. But it's tough, and I think, you know, as we move forward, as you get the senior living going and you get, you know, people moving in there, there's going to be kind of working against ourselves too, which is amazing. I think it's great, but there might be some more homes available at that point, so we compete with ourselves.
Right.
You know, what can we do to get more stuff going out there? I think we have to have some sort of promotion to entice, and whether that's contractors, you have it for, you know, residential people that want to build, and then maybe you have a contractor's special or something, that if you build 2 spec homes, we do tax abatement for so long or something until it's, you know, what can we do?
Mhm.
Have we discussed bringing in contractors to just start building a couple homes up there?
We've discussed it, we haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Harborside thing was all final before I became on council, and I know I've had a couple of conversations over the past, I don't know, few months where a couple people have brought that up, like, why don't you just have someone come in, build a couple houses? I think that makes a little bit of sense, you know, that's probably the most daunting part. It's like, okay, you know, sit down with a couple contractors, give us some options, like, okay, that's kind of what we want to fit the mold of what this subdivision looks like, and look into that option. I think it's,
Yeah.
you know, build it and someone will come.
Oh, I think that's true.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I have no idea the cost or the layout of what something like that takes on, you know, as far as exposure on our end, but like I said, I know it hasn't really been discussed since I've been on council, so I didn't know if it had been beforehand or not, so.
It's been discussed, like I said, nothing's happened, and you know, this project's been going on, I've been on council, I think, going on 10 years, and the land was purchased prior to that.
Right.
You know, so it's been a long,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a long time to get it moving, and timing hasn't been great, you know, COVID came, and that's when we really got the project going. We
Yeah.
haven't had great timing at any of this, but we gotta do something to keep it moving. So yeah, if we reach out to some contractors, I'd like to have the contractors, you know, the city doesn't have to put the money for, the contractors do.
Yeah.
What can we do to help incentivize the contractors
Right.
to
Make it appealing for
Take
them
that
to
chance
take
on
that
it.
leap,
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know, they don't pay taxes on the land, or you don't have to pay for the land for so long, or something, you know. What can we do? Because there are a lot of people that would, you know, buy that new home that just don't wanna go through the hassle of build it themselves.
well, I mean, I think that, you know, look at the house right here for, you know, Connie Mormon. I've heard, you know, basically Mike went through and, or Gates, whatever, went through and basically did all the work, and I've heard rumor that there's a couple other people that are like, hey, would you do that for me? You know, go through the work of all the blueprints and work with the
Right.
contract and that stuff, and just.
Let me know when I can move in.
Absolutely, and I think
Yeah.
I think that's a very, viable option to think about.
Yeah, it's not definitely something that a lot of people probably feel comfortable approaching just on their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. Is that something Kelly could help us out with, contractors that maybe she's worked with other cities that have done that, or is there any?
Like other developers?
Yeah, just some, you know, but maybe it's, you know, Chad, you know?
Yeah. And Dana, at one time, she was kind of always wondering how soon the senior housing project was gonna start, because she had some developers that were interested in possibly doing a couple townhouses, but didn't wanna step on toes, you know, but maybe I can reach out to her again, say, you know, even though it's moving forward, do you know of any developers that would at least spark some interest, you know, get things going?
And we're willing to work with those developers, and if they've done it already, they can come to us and say, well, here's kind of how this usually
Yeah.
works.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I think of like in Clinton and that other subdivision kind of on the southwest side or whatever, where the school comes in and they just, you know, that's class or whatever, and the high school comes in, they build houses and then people, I'm like, boy, you know, that's a little bit different of a scope of a project than what we're talking here, but kind of along the same lines is kind of what I was thinking for an option.
So maybe if we can do that, and then maybe if you can give Kelly again, and she can come to us with just a couple options that, hey, here's the best way to promote for residential, that, you know, if you want, you know, Adam to buy a lot up there, you know, here's a couple options we can do. The council can decide that it's using TIF money, or you say you give them so much money back after they build the house, or
Yeah.
what we can do, but let's come up with a couple options that Chief might think are the best options that she's.
You know, maybe a couple for residential, maybe a couple for contract.
Yeah, then we can make some choices, and says, here's how we'd like to move forward and do something, because, again, we're getting towards, it's already.
Because even the cost of,
Right.
even the cost of these programs, I mean, it's not like you're going from no cost to that, I mean, I think it's going, if it helps push the needle, move it forward, then the
Yeah.
cost is well
Yeah,
spent.
but if we can start getting some revenue in there, you have to do
Absolutely.
something.
Right.
You know, and you get a few homes up there, hopefully they come fast enough, people can start to see
You know,
what it's gonna be.
get that momentum.
Yeah.
I just looked up some other options for promoting, and they said to work with a realtor, which we already have a realtor, and maybe offering like a bonus. Hey, you sell a lot, we'll give you a couple extra $1,000.
For sure.
You know, just little things, and I'm still looking at researching, but I'll definitely get back with Kelly and talk to Dana.
Yeah, if Dana knows some
Kinda-
contractor, that might be great, because they can come to us and say, here's your package, here's how this usually works.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm sure there's contractors out there that have done this, I'm sure there is.
For sure.
Yeah, just finding them, or knowing how to find them.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
That works.
Any other questions or discussions on that?
Sure.
Alright, so number 10, resolution 2024-31, approval of plat of survey for Fear.
Yeah, Adam here is, had a surveyor come do, he's gonna buy a chunk of ground from Paul Karstison, and he told me to tell you guys, no, it's not a subdivision. So, it's just a little corner of that big parcel, and since they are within 2 miles of the city of Preston, well, they have to technically approve it.
Yeah, as long as it's not a subdivision.
Yeah, we don't need any competition.
Did he say what he's planning on doing with it? Because this is on the other side of the gravel road, isn't it?
Yeah, it
South
is.
side.
Yeah.
It's for their own personal
Fair enough.
10-year plan, maybe,
Fair enough,
yeah.
Good for them.
yeah, absolutely.
One other. Yeah, it's just this little, on the bottom top corner of that blue area, it's just from the land, from the eye, it kinda goes up towards the,
Kind of that grassy area there.
Yep.
yeah, and then even up a little higher, so. Yeah,
Is it the one right across from the lane, or is it all the way to the east of that?
it's, the furthest to the east.
Okay, along that dark blue line,
Yeah,
okay.
but I think it's on the back, yeah, just this first little corner.
Okay.
I suppose you can't see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just need to get that approved by you guys so they can move forward with it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-31 for the plat of survey for Fears.
Second,
I'll second it.
and roll call.
That's the wrong page. Lisa Buddy,
Yes.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
Jill Meyer.
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
And number 11, resolution 2024-32, approval of setting wages for fiscal year 25-26.
Personnel Committee met on Friday, the 6th, and reviewed salaries and increased options and evaluations. And I don't know if either of the Personnel Committee members want to speak on that, or the resolution indicates that it would an hourly rate increase of 3.5% for city administrator who is an exempt employee at a salary of $71,768.75, and Tracy, the 3.5% plus an additional 50 cents per hour for completion of year 2 of the Professional Institute for Clerk School. And the library trustees already approved whatever the city does for the full-time, or for the library wages as well. And then our seasonal and part-time police officers be excluded from the 3.5, as they are, those salaries were set prior to budget, so. That was their recommendation.
Yeah, so we went, and like, as far as Tracy, for example, we didn't have any agreement that she'd get more money, but as she's willing to put more education stuff in and get more training, that's kind of the way we've always gone, that, if you're willing to put yourself out there and get educated more and do more things, that value should increase, of your employment, so we're all about that. We just talked in general about, what we've done in the past and benefits and how we've, tried to be really proactive to keep our insurance and stuff down, which again, is, thanks to our employees for, the lack of claims they have and stuff too, so that helps us out tremendously. We were hoping we had Chad locked in at the same price for 5 years, but that wasn't a true statement, so. That was a 2 year. Yeah, that was a 2-year deal, yeah, which is great, just kidding, Chad. So, but we went through all those, and we decided that we thought 3.5, with the wages where we're at was a nice increase for everybody. It was a big number, and, doing everything we can in the future here to keep our insurance benefits and stuff, down as much as we can. So, again, that's the personnel's recommendation.
And it was in your packet, the actual options, so those were there to see where they are, where everybody will be now at the 3.5. And it also included the benefits that each employee is currently receiving.
Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-32, approving the setting of wages for fiscal year 25-26.
And second?
I'll second it.
And roll call?
Matt Peterson,
Yes.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
Lisa Buddy,
Yes.
Jill Meyer.
Yes.
All right. Number 12, set the public hearing for budget amendment number 2 for June 23rd, 2025.
Yeah, I know we did already a budget amendment for this year. There's a couple things that were omitted from that amendment. So I am proposing to amend for revenues of $6,000 for, we had a nice donation come in for the Westside Park improvement, plus other continuing to receive donations there. So amend the revenues by another $6,000. And then public safety, I know when we budgeted, or the first budget amendment, it was for the police car. I failed to include the updating in that amendment, so to stay on the safe side, Chad was coming in real close and could have possibly got by with it, but to stay on the safe side, we just budgeted for that under culture and rec is 8,500 for the, even though the money's in the West Side Park Improvement Fund from all their fundraising and everything that they're doing, the expenses weren't budgeted for the parking lot. So in order to keep that above water, we needed to amend that for $8,500. And then the community and economic development, or the general government line, the $3,000 in the middle column, line 21, is basically for our buildings funds for the town hall, city hall. We did a few extra things and we're coming up about $3,000 short. So in order for us to go over budget on that, I wanted to amend that because we still have to pay salaries and utilities and stuff out of there. In order not to get written up for going over, it's a reduction of our ending fund balance of 18,000. Public hearing will publish this week, and we'd like to set that for the next meeting.
One thing too, Cheryl, Chad, as far as court costs, do you have enough money? Do we need to do anything there for what, everything you've gone through with that, or are you covered, or is that a big deal?
Most of the
all-
invoices go right to Cheryl, so when she
Yeah.
lets me know.
Yeah, Lynch Dallas usually doesn't bill until like the end, so we've got the bills in for this, what they've done up currently. So we haven't gotten any more bills, and I feel confident that, they won't need to be paid anymore until after the first of the year.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Is there gonna be a motion made on it?
To set the public hearing, yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing, where's that? For, June 23rd, for amendment number 2, for June 23rd, 2025.
Second.
And roll call?
Dillmeyer.
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Lisa Buddy.
Yes.
And other business?
I was just gonna review the few council updates. I know I put them in the packet a little late. You may not have all had a time to look at them, but, I got an update from Tim. I told you last time that the blower was in, but it wasn't installed yet. He talked to the company that he purchased it from, and they will be installing, but they gave a recommendation of who to use, so, they're getting a quote prepared. And we talked about the sewer for Kilburg, which we don't have to, we already talked when Jesse was here. And the sewer line for Ellis, Tim's trying to schedule, work it out with when Margaret can come and do that. Apparently they're kind of shooting for the week of the 23rd, because Tim is on vacation next week. And we talked about the church ditch already. We had, I reached out to Chad Ellis via email, and he responded today, and I just sent it this morning, which was good, so, I did get that transformer set for the electric, and Ray was basically wanting to figure out where it would work for him, where he's anticipating the electric to come in. So, he sent it back, and he wants to put the transformer where this green dot is, if you can see that. And he just, that's where and he wants to hide the meters. I don't know really what that meant, but, so it's there for future use as well. So we did get a reply, so I haven't discussed it with Ray yet on what he thought of that area, but at least we're moving forward on getting it over there. And, Ray is on call, so he is doing the street sweeping this month. Typically it's done on Wednesdays. He's planning on waiting until Friday, so he can not do it twice in 1 week, but hit the parade route especially. So just in case anybody is wondering why they weren't swept, you wanted to few updates I had. And I did have, Mark Rudin mentioned Sheila Lee with the DOT. I had a request, an email from her requesting approval for a, culvert permit for Old Eggs. Let's see, I'll edit that here quick. Excuse me, talk too much into the voice. There's an area on Highway 64 just on East White Street that they own. And what they wanna do is get an access back to where they have a garden back in there. And what they'll need is to put an adequate culvert in there. So they had to go through the DOT to get a permit. The DOT has reviewed it on their end, but they want the city's approval for them to go ahead and allow them to have access to that. Or kind of put like a little drive access with the culvert, so. I just needed, to let you know so I can give her our blessings that it's okay to proceed with that.
So does the DOT then specify what size the culvert needs to be? That's who does that?
Yes.
Okay, that would be my thing, as long as the culvert size according by somebody in the DOT be the perfect people to do that, I
Right.
guess.
There's a parcel that they own out there, and it does give pipe requirements for installation of driveways, and it lists a bunch of things that the DOT reviews prior to them letting them build, or giving them the permit for it, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay, I guess as long as the DOT is okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Does the DOT come in and do it then, or are we responsible to put the culvert in, or are they responsible?
It's all on the property owner,
Okay.
yeah.
Not usually easy to get the DOT to approve something like that either, is it?
So basically, there's a diagram that she sent me that shows the proper driveway construction, which includes a culvert, and the way it is now. So to get an access in there, they'll need to
So
put a
there's
culvert
a
in.
standard the state is holding them to, they have to do it this way,
Yeah.
and
And Eric is aware of it because his gas line runs through there, and the test station is out there. So there's gonna have to be, there'll be some digging to get the culvert in there, but that once the permit is issued to Old Egg, then he'll have to do the one call and follow all those guidelines, make sure.
100% on Old Eggs.
Yep. So, I just wanted to make you aware of it, so I can go ahead and tell Sheila that we approve his permit. Okay.
No issues here.
Sounds great.
And then that's all I have.
Anyone else have anything? Do you have anything, Chad? Anyone else?
It was a nice thank you from Jenna Rowland in there too.
The WPPI scholarship?
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, if nobody else has anything, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any roll call?
Lisa Buddy,
Yes.
Matt Peterson,
Yes.
Joe Meyer,
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.